Everybody wants to know what I would say if First Steps wasn't good, and all I gotta say is, I guess we'll never know. Because here's the thing, let me be transparent. I don't think it's a stretch to say that this movie is fire. Because my brother in Christ, there's not enough honey in the multiverse to pour on Matt Shackman and his entire cast. Got me ready to run through a brick wall, man. And I wonder why I think I got CTE. I'm genuinely at a loss for words at just how much I enjoyed this movie and how much reverence it has for Jack Kirby. I know he's up there smiling, goat. I wish there was a word or a superlative that I could use to describe this movie, but I just can't think of one off the top of my head for real. But enough of the yappuccino. I'm gonna be giving you my honest, spoiler-free thoughts of the movie, so don't worry, there's not gonna be any spoilers. Either way, me and you know what we gotta do. We gotta talk about it. And boom, man, you know what? Doom! You looking for this? I gotta give a huge shout out and thank you to both IMAX and the Escape podcast for putting this event together because it was absolutely fantastic. But fourth time's the charm because we finally got our definitive Fantastic Four movie in live action. And not only is it one of the most visually striking and distinct MCU movies ever, it also is a film that just has so much reverence for the godfather of Marvel's first family, Jack Kirby. And it's crazy going from Superman to Fantastic Four. We are eating good. Never did I think we would get this level of comic book reverence in films in my life. We're spoiled, and my children's children are going to be talking about July 2025 for real. Director Matt Shackman, who previously worked on WandaVision, and his creative team for this film, they just get it. They just understood the assignment and they passed with flying colors. And this movie right here is the kind of movie magic that happens when you have filmmakers who actually give a shit about the source material that they're adapting, as well as the medium that they're adapting it into. You could tell that Matt Shackman and his creative team didn't just have a whole bunch of reverence for the Fantastic Four as a comic, Jack Kirby's run, as well as every single run since then, but they just have so much love for filmmaking in general, and the filmmaking practices they brought to this film paid homage to and evoked some of the greatest films ever made, like 2001: A Space Odyssey, Interstellar, etc. And I can't stress it enough how great of a decision it was to have this set in a completely different universe, because it allows the creatives who are very passionate working on this film to have their hands in crafting one of the most visually awe-inspiring and distinct things in the MCU. It gives us something very unique while also feeling very familiar. The retro-futuristic 60s aesthetic was just a little cherry on top for real. What I'm trying to say is this movie was a whole ass vibe for real. But the reason the visuals and filmmaking practices work is because they make you give a shit about these characters and their world. And inherently, that's what makes these kind of movies, superhero movies, comic book movies, work. If you don't fuck with the characters, you don't fuck with the movie. And this movie succeeds in giving us a nice foundation of emotions to work off of and feel fully engaged for everyone's character arc. And as someone who just became a father recently, this movie hits different. There's a very interesting moral and ethical dilemma that is the driving force of this movie that had me fully locked in. Like, it's the type of question that actually has you thinking like, damn, I can see a point for both sides. But none of that emotion hits, none of those story beats work unless the performances are weak. And I'm happy to say that there ain't a weak link here at all. If anything, these are the definitive versions of their comic counterparts. Pedro Pascal, he's Reed Richards. Ebon Moss-Bachrach, he is Ben Grimm the Thing. Vanessa Kirby is Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman. And Joseph Quinn is Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. And they're my And briefly touching, of each performance, I was thoroughly impressed with Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. He really nailed it. He didn't make me feel like, oh, it's Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. He made me feel like, nah, he's Reed Richards for real. He absolutely nailed Reed's demeanor, and it gave him a very specific speech pattern that made it stand out and made you believe, oh yeah, this is probably the smartest man in the world. He brought a little bit of a nihilistic approach, or like a cold yet calculated vibe, but at the end of the day, he still has the emotional beat that pumps his heart. And for the most part, his stretching powers look fucking fantastic. Now, obviously, it's some of that uncanny valley, and at times, it's just not gonna look good, just because it's nothing we have actually seen in real life. But they had this brother moving like Spider-Man, dog. The way he was flinging his arms around and jumping around buildings and shit was incredible. I think one thing we can all agree on is that this is easily the best suit that Reed Richards ever had in live action, and even close. But here's the thing. To me, Ebon Moss-Bachrach is the perfect thing, but the issue here is we didn't get enough of him for real. It felt like he was the one that was sidelined out of the four. And honestly, he ended up being a little bit anticlimactic with the build-up they tried saying with the it's clobbering time thing. And I was left a little disappointed that we didn't get more of him just because he's my favorite member. But that's not to say they didn't nail his character. It's perfect. Jack Kirby would be so damn proud. Especially the visual effects. Like, dog, this has to be some of the best motion capture and visual effects work I've seen in any Marvel movie. And don't even get me started on the fits. This man had like 7 different outfits, and he really had that shit on. Even if half the time he looked like Anthony Mackie. Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm is my definitive Sue Storm in live action. She cooked. They perfectly understood her character. She is a motherly figure for everyone in the four, not just because she has Franklin. And she's really the glue that keeps everyone together, a strong, independent woman. And she gets some of the hardest line deliveries and moments and speeches that just gave me full body chills. But I think the biggest standout had to be Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm because, oh my goodness, he was fire. Now, they do something a little bit different with Johnny's character in this movie that I've really appreciated. So while he does have that arrogant, hothead, charismatic personality, they give him another layer of him trying to prove his intelligence. And not only is it dope as hell to see him flame on and help out saving the city, but he gets one of the coldest five-head moments in this movie that just had me, I got chills the entire time. And I just loved every little moment of their dynamic. They really felt like a family. Like, this is probably my favorite, it is my favorite iteration of Marvel's First Family. The Johnny and Ben dynamic as uncles is perfect. Reed and Sue got chemistry out the wazoo, and they made me care about their family. And another thing I love is how they utilize their power sets and how they visualize that for us. They were throwing some combos around. The way they saved people was incredible. And the way they worked together as not just a team, but a family was mwah, mwah, chef's kiss. Don't even get me started on Galactus and the Silver Surfer. Oh my God. My goodness, were they intimidating and haunting and eerie. What this movie does great above all else is this sense of dread and impending doom and actual tension and stakes. There was a couple moments where I was literally locked in like, damn, is that really about to happen? Because they were just these big, larger than life imposing figures. And the motivation is crazy because it's just like Galactus got to eat. Like me and you. You know, unfortunately, he got to eat planets and a bunch of people that are inhabiting those planets being neither here nor there. And everything with Galactus was just chill inducing. Like, bro, it was just immaculate to see him up on that IMAX screen. Like, bro, you need to watch it in IMAX. He fills up the entire screen. And the action sequence towards the end is just, oh my goodness. They were doing shit with miniatures and practical sets that I didn't think was possible in the MCU. We really had a kaiju movie. It really felt like this Alex Ross painting came to life. And Ralph Ineson's voice and the score that Michael Giacchino cooked up for him is every time his eyes would flash, my ass would clench. Well, after all the hate that Julia Garner's Silver Surfer Shia LaBeouf got because a bunch of idiots thought that she was playing Norrin Rad, and I don't care what you say, as much as I love Doug Jones and Lawrence Fishburne in Rise of the Silver Surfer, she's the better version. Because I herald his beginning, I herald his end, I herald Galactus. Like, dog, they just fucking got it. They understood the assignment. I love the whole heralding aspect of Silver Surfer that we didn't really get a lot of in Rise of the Silver Surfer, but they also gave her Silver Surfer's classic aura farming moments. Like, there's literally a shot in the movie that looks just like this, and I was just like, I need that on my lock screen. But the way they showcased her powers in this one is like, oh my God, dog, she was surfing a black hole. It was just so tough. And again, the visual effects and the motion capture work are mwah. And yes, absolutely, I'm gonna eat it. And speaking of the Silver Surfer, her dynamic with Johnny Storm was actually my favorite aspect of the film. It was a very enjoyable dynamic, and yes, I surfed that wave. I was just hoping that as soon as he got to look at her assets, he would look at the rest of the members of the Four and say, hey, no more of this Human Torch shit. I need y'all to call me H, because I'm going to turn her ass to Ash. And I'm going to keep pounding this home, but it has some of the most breathtaking visuals and exciting action sequences. While there's not a lot of action sequences, the ones that we have are fucking, like, enthralling. And you got Michael Giacchino's score bumping in the background, like, ah. And another aspect I enjoyed about this movie is that they actually explored the explorers aspect of the Fantastic Four, because they're not just celebrities, a team, or a family. They're also explorers. So yeah, we get a whole bunch of space shenanigans, and that shit is fire. I also really love the utilization of the citizens of this retro-futuristic 60s. It really makes this world feel lived in, and the city feels like a character. And again, I gave a shit about their world. If anything, I love this in New York City more than I like the MCU's version. And yes, Franklin Richards, adorable. And Herbie was perfect. Him singing the lullaby, can we get him a Grammy? I love humanoid experimental robot B-type integrated electronics. My bad, hurry. And the only real criticisms I can think about this movie are its plot. It's very generic, cookie cutter, and as it moves along, it gets very predictable. And there are a couple of cliche moments that I was like, eh. And again, some characters don't really get the shine that they should get. And even though it is visually breathtaking for the most part, there are gonna be some of those scenes that look kind of iffy. The visual effects look or the lighting, blocking, and shot composition are kind of But I think everything I mentioned before kind of makes all that null and void. There really aren't that many criticisms for me personally. I mean, the first 10 minutes alone are some of the craziest things we've ever seen. Paying so much respect to the entire comic history of the Fantastic Four. I was ready to ask the projectionist if he could pause it just so I could stand up, clap, and salute. Unfortunately, I don't got that much motion, so I saved it for that post-credit scene because, oh my God, that post-credit scene legit gave me goosebumps all over my body. Full body chills. And yes, there are 2 post-credit scenes, so make sure you stay tuned. But all in all, I absolutely adored the Fantastic. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Are you going to be checking out Fantastic Four First Steps this weekend? And if you've already seen it, drop a comment down below. And as always, like and follow for more.